Okay, now we are talking about reasoning in geometry. Yeah, reasoning is a process of drawing conclusions from information, and we will talk about the process of inductive reasoning, false generalization, and counterexamples, and then developing geometry using deductive reasoning, types of if-then statements, and then converse, inverse, and contrapositive pattern of reasoning, postulate in geometry, and some measurement postulates. First, we will talk about the process of inductive reasoning. Here I will give the one example that is, suppose someone has cut three different shapes triangle from a piece of paper. For example, we have three triangle. Then the corner of each of the triangle have been cut off and fitted together as shown below. Yes. Then what do you observe about the sum of the angle measure? Do you think this will be true for all triangle? And yeah, because we have three different kinds of triangle, and so we can make a generalizations that the sum of measure of the three triangle of the triangle is, yeah, 180 degree. This is the process of inductive reasoning. And the other example, suppose that someone has measured all three sides of three different triangle. For example, this is the first triangle. Okay, we have three different triangle. Then is this triangle the sum of the length of two sides is greater than the length of the third side? For example, when we sum of this sides, and then this is greater than the length of the third side. This is also, for example, and we can make a sum these two sides, and then this is we can make a complete of the generalization that the sum of the lengths of two sides of a triangle is, yeah, greater the length of the third side. Yeah, so you can sum of the two sides, so the result is greater than the length, and this is a we can make the generalization for all of the triangle because we have different three kinds of triangles. Okay, this is the process of inductive reasoning for example number 2. And then we have the others reasoning, we call inductive reasoning. At this we have, we can make the conclusions, but how to conduct the inductive reasoning? There is at least two steps. The first step is you observe that a property is true for every case you check. Yeah, this is every case you check, and then you observe that the property is true for every case you check, and then for the second step is, since the property is true for all case checks, this is for all case, you conclude that the property is true for all other cases also and state a generalization. So this is important to find the property for every case, and if the property is true for all case, so we can make the generalization. So this is the inductive reasoning. Then the second is about false generalization and counterexample. So an example, if a quadrilateral has 4 congruent sides, it has 4 congruent angles. So to show that the generalization is false, so we will so that this generalization is false, we must provide a quadrilateral with 4 congruent sides which does not have 4 congruent angles. For example, this is a quadrilateral. Yeah, so that this is a quadrilateral, has 4 congruent sides, but it has not 4 congruent angles. Yeah, but this is congruent, but this is not congruent with the others angles. So we can say that this is a false generalization. It will be true if the case is like this. Yeah, this is a quadrilateral, has 4 congruent sides and has 4 congruent angles. But it is not true when we have the other case. So we can call this is the false generalization because it's not true for all of the quadrilateral. Yeah, this is true, but this is incorrect. Okay, and then for the counter example, figure EF GH has all sides congruent but is not congruent to F. This is for example. All sides congruent, but angle E is not congruent with F. Okay, this is a counter example. So this is a false generalization, and we can find the counter example by choosing at least one case that this is we can use this to prove that the generalization is false. We can find the counter example. But if this A, B, C, D, so the angle A is congruent with to P, C, and D. So in this case, this is true conditions. But this is become the false generalization. We can choose at least one case that this is not true, or this is false. Okay, this is a false generalization and counter example. Then we can developing the geometry using deductive reasoning. For example, given ABC is a triangle with the AB congruent with AC, congruent to AC, and therefore angle B and angle C are congruent. So yeah, we can draw that this is a triangle ABC and AB congruent with the AC. So based on these conditions, we can draw a theorem. This is we have the hypothesis that if two sets of triangle are congruent, then the two opposite angle are congruent. So this is a theorem. After we use logic to supply the correct statement in previous step, then of the sample proof above, we will have a proof of this theorem. Yeah, it means that based on this statement, leading to the conclusions are not included here, and it is in this chapter. In this part, you will learn some reasoning pattern that will help you select sequence and give reason for appropriate statement. So we have the deductive reasoning steps. The first is start with the given conditions, the hypothesis, and the second step is use logic and definitions, postulate, or previous proof theorem to justify a series of statements or steps which lead to the desired result. And then for the last step is assert the result or the conclusion. This is the step of deductive reasoning. Then we have the type of the statement, type of the if-then statement. You can write an if-then statement is the statement of the form if P then Q, where P and Q are simple statement and P is called hypothesis and Q is called the conclusion. So we can write a symbol P, if P then Q. This is a simple statement and P is a hypothesis and Q is called the conclusion. There are several examples of the if-then statement. For example, we have the hypothesis. Yeah, no, here I will give an example of the hypothesis, conclusion, and if-then statement. If we have this hypothesis and this is a conclusions, this P and Q, and then hypothesis. For example, the figure of the ABCD is a square, and we have the conclusion Q if it has four congruent sets. So we have the if-then statement P then Q. If figure ABCD is a square, then it has four congruent sets. So this is an example of the if-then statement. So if-then statement, yeah, if-then statement is true if whenever the hypothesis is true, yeah, and the conclusion is also true. Or saying it another way, that if-then statement is false only when the hypothesis is true and the conclusion is false. Yeah. So this is how to find the the value of this statement. So we have the if then statement, and the next is converse, inverse, and contrapositive. Converse, if we have the statement P then Q, then we have the converse is Q then P, and the inverse of the statement P then Q is not P then not Q. And the contrapositive of this statement is Q then non P, or negasi Q then negasi P. When an if then statement P then Q is true, one can assume that its contrapositive is also true. Yeah, we can call this is true if this is also true. Okay, this is a contrapositive, converse, and inverse. Then we have the pattern of the reasoning. Pattern of reasoning, we have the, for example, if we have the P then Q is true, and P is given, then we can conclude yeah, this is the pattern of reasoning. And we have another pattern. This is the second pattern, that if there is a P then Q is true, and we can find that this is not Q, not Q is given, then we can make the conclude that not P is true, or in other words is the P is false. Okay, so we have the two pattern of the reasoning. We can call this as yeah, this is affirming the hypothesis, and the second is denying the conclusion. So we have the first pattern is affirming the hypothesis. If we have the P, then Q is true and P is given, then we can conclude that Q is true. And the second is denying the conclusions. If we have the P, then Q is true and not Q is given, and conclusion is we can conclude that not Q is true or P is false. So we have the two pattern. And we have also the third pattern. The third pattern is we have the P, then Q is true and Q, then R is true. We can conclude that P, R is true. Yeah. We can call this as a chain of reasoning. Yeah, so we have three kinds of pattern of reasoning. The first is affirming the hypothesis, second is denying the conclusions, and the third is chain of reasoning. If we have the statement P, then Q is true, and Q, then R is true, then we can conclude that P, then R is true. So this is we call chain rule. And we have the several postulates in geometry. The first is the postulate of the point's existence. It means that the space exists and contains at least 4 non-coplanar points. So we can draw a space. Exists and contain at least 4 non-coplanar. This is 1, 2, 3, 4. This is F, G, H, I. Yeah. So we have the in one space at least there are 4 non-coplanar points, and a plane contains at least 3 non-coplanar points, and in a line contains at least 2 points. Yeah. So this is the point existence postulates. In a line contains at least 2 points. In a plane contains at least 3 points. And in a space exists and contains at least 4 non-coplanar points. And this is for the first postulate in geometry. And the second is a point line postulate. Yeah, this is the first, and the second is point line postulate. Yeah, 2 points are contained in one and only one line. So we have 2 points. This is A and B. 2 points are contained in one and only one line. Yeah, this is, for example, this is line L. So this is incorrect when we draw 2 points but contains in 2 lines. This is an example. Yeah, So we can call that this is incorrect. This is the correct that the 2 points are contained in one and only one line. Okay. And point plane postulate, we can call that three non-collinear points are contained in one and only one plane. This is the illustrations. Yeah, for example, this is plane W, and so this is three non-collinear points are contained in one and only one plane. This is a point plane, and then we have the plane intersection postulate. If two planes intersect, then they intersect in exactly one line. Okay, there is two planes intersects, then they intersect in exactly one line. This is the intersection of these two planes. Okay, this is a plane intersection postulate, and the next is 2 points line plane postulate. It means that if 2 points are in a plane, then the line containing them is in the plane. This is an illustration. So if 2 points are in a plane, then the line containing them is in the plane. So if we have the CD, there is a 2 point, namely C and D, and C and D in a plane, and then the line L containing C and D is also in the plane. This is the 2 points line plane postulate. And then plane separations postulate, we can draw a plane and let N be a plane. This is the N, and L line. This is line L. The point of the plane not on L form two half planes, such as the H half plane is a convex set, and if P is one half plane, there is a P, and Q in the others, then PQ is intersect L. This is the Q. So PQ intersect L, and we can call this is a plane separated postulate. Because L is a separated N into two parts, and we have 2 points in different sets, and the PQ is intersect L. And the last is space. Yeah, this is plane, and this is a space present postulate. If we have the space and we have the plane, and yeah, we have the point A and point P and plane N. So let N be a plane in space, then the point of space not on N from to half space, such as its half space is a convex set in if a point A is in one half of the half space and P in the others, so AP intersect N. So we can call this is a space expression postulate. And then the last is perpendicular postulate. If we want to have the only one line through a given point that is perpendicular to a given line or plane. This is the line L, and we have the point P. Another condition is we have the point line L, and this is the point P. So we can draw a perpendicular line from point P. Yeah, given a point and a line in a plane, there is exactly one line through the point perpendicular to the given line. Given a plane in space and a point not in that plane, there is exactly one line through the point perpendicular to given plane. So this is a perpendicular postulate, and this is the condition. There are some of the postulates accepted in geometry. Other important postulate will be present in the next lesson and in the next meeting. And then we have the sum measurement postulate. The first is the ruler postulate. So we have the ruler postulate. It means that to every pair of points there corresponds a unique positive number called the distance between the point. We have the point A and point B. So the point on a line can be matched 1 to 1 with the real number, so that the distance between any 2 points in the absolute value of the difference of their associate numbers. So we can make a pair of points. To every pair of points there corresponds a unique positive number called the distance between the points. Yeah. So we can draw, for example, if there is from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and others, and then this is for example 50 and others, and so we can draw that this is start from 3 to 50. So we can find AB is equal to 50 minus 3, the absolute number of the 50 minus 3. Okay, this is when we have to find the AP of the distance between the 2 points, it's point A and B. So we have the real number corresponding to the pair of points. And we have another point, for example this C. So point C is between A and B if and only if A, B, C are collinear, and AC plus CB equals to AB. Okay. And then the other is protractor postulate. This is a protractor. To each angle, there corresponding a unique real number between 0 and 180, called the measure of angle. Let P be a point on the edge of half plane. It's right in the half plane, or its edge with a vertex P can be matched 1 to 1 with the real number n is from 0 to 80 or more than 0 and less than 80, so that the measure of an angle formed by a pair of non-collinear ray with a vertex P is the absolute value of the difference of their associated number. So for example, if we have this condition, for example, if we have the straight line and we have the two ray, and we will find the angle of the, for example, this is A B C, so we can write that MA PC equals to, for example, if we have this 95 and this is the 52 degree, so we can write that the angle of ABC equals 95 minus 52 equals 52 minus 95. This is also because this is absolute, and this is equal to 43 degree. So the measure of ABC is equal to 43 degree. And this is also, if we have two angles, we can call that, for example, there is a D, so the measure of the DBC is equal to the measure of DBA plus the measure of ABC. This is the definition of the sum of the measure of angle. Okay, thank you very much for your attentions, and if you have any question, we can discuss in the forum, discussion forum in our learning management system. Thank you very much, and see you.